If you grew up in the San Francisco Oakland Bay Area between 1973 and the early 1990s, and you never went to a Bill Graham Day on the Green show, you missed out. Not long after closing the Fillmore East and West, due to rising indoor concert costs, Graham started experimenting with larger outdoor venues like Kezar Stadium and the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum. The Day on the Green concerts were multi-act all-day events, and the tickets were around $6 to $10. The staging, sound, and production were optimized for massive crowds of 50 to 60,000 people, with carefully timed sets to ensure smooth transitions between acts. Day on the Green concerts at the Oakland Coliseum had a festival-like feel, with picnic-style seating on the grass, afternoon to evening programming, easy access to BART and freeways, and good security concessions and medical services. Graham's model was commercially viable, allowing rock concerts to transition from indoor theaters to massive stadiums while still ensuring a quality experience for their audiences. The format later influenced large-scale festivals and stadium tours across the U.S., creating a blueprint for the modern-day outdoor concert experience. What ended in Oakland started in San Francisco at Kezar Stadium.
Remember the days when you could walk up to the box office, slap down a 5-spot, grab your ticket, and stroll through the gates to see the good old Grateful Dead? One such day was May 26, 1973, at Kezar Stadium, when 20,000 Deadheads attended a show billed as Dancing on the Outdoor Green, a precursor to today's Day on the Green shows now held at the Oakland Coliseum. The show, originally scheduled for 2 nights at the Cow Palace, was moved to Kezar to become promoter Bill Graham's first stadium event. Adding to the day's country picnic atmosphere were sets by Waylon Jennings and the New Riders of the Purple Sage. The Kezar concert was an early wall of sound show with 150 speakers to fill the stadium with grateful tunes.
On June 2nd, 1973, Led Zeppelin played Kezar, and over 50,000 fans showed up. That performance resulted in extensive field damage to Kezar's already shaky turf where the 49ers play. The community backlash against the noise and rowdiness prompted San Francisco authorities to restrict future large-scale rock concerts at Kezar. San Francisco's loss was Oakland's gain. Graham moved his brainchild to the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum, which started as Dancing on the Outdoor Green, would soon be called Day on the Green. The first Day on the Green at the Oakland Coliseum took place on August 5th, 1973. The concert was headlined by Leon Russell, Loggins and Messina, and local favorite Elvin Bishop. A typical Day on the Green event had 4 to 6 bands. Gates opened early, often at 9 a.m., so fans could grab good spots on the field. Performances started around 11 a.m. The opening acts were often emerging bands followed by higher-profile groups, building to the headliner in the late afternoon or evening. The shows had a festival-like feel to them, with fans eating lunch and throwing frisbees on the field or just taking in the sun. Approximately 3 million people attended Day on the Green concerts in Oakland between 1973 and 1992. Pumping untold millions of dollars into the local economy. This is the only video record of the event. filmed on regular 8mm by Russ D with no sound.
Compact discs, records, cassettes, 45s, accessories, and more. Phone 408.
Fucking dollars to park? It's actually 50. They just kept the Oh, well then we're getting a deal. You got change for that, brother? Metallica later? You going to see the concert? Oh, I'm going bowling. Go with that dude. He's down with them. Hey, who's Jesse? Accidents happen. There won't be no time. No. What's up, Todd? Are you being like an Opie? Doesn't matter. They're up there with... Beer drinkers aren't guys. You gotta drink Jack. Sorry, Rob. Can't.
He's loving.
He's left dough.
He's loving.
Yeah, you're on TV. Hold on, get out of the way. Be on video.
Stop getting the
Come on. Hey, what about for video? Come on. Come on, Michael. I can't hear you, bro. Can't hear me. That's what I'm saying, man. What you saying? What are you doing here?
I'm here to party.
You're here to party?
Yeah, party.
And what?
What am I here for? Same thing. Party.
Party down, dude. That's how we do it.
How did you get entwined with Bill Graham? I mean, was it just like hired into his company? And what year would you say that was?
Well, it was in 1975, 1976.
Oh shit! Okay.
I was going to Chico, and my
Chico State.
Chico State, right?
That's where my wife went to college.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah. It's funny, yeah.
Yeah, the years that I were there, at least one year, it was San Diego, University of San Diego. No, University. It was Arizona State. No, it was University of Arizona. That was in Playboy magazine was like rated the
biggest
number
party
one
school
in the world.
Yeah.
Right. But then above it, it said Chico State. We don't rate professionals.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
There you go. That's funny, man.
I started throwing parties up there for whatever reason. I was throwing parties all my life, when I was a young kid when we graduated high school, because I was going to Bellarmine down in San Jose. And,
Now, when you say throw parties, you mean like coordinate the entertainment, make sure there's beverages. Like, how are we? Are you just like, I just used my parents' house and had a kegger?
Throw a party at your house, your mom's house, right?
Yeah.
300 people show up, and the cops show up, and all hell's breaking loose. But nobody's complaining in the neighborhood because you called all the neighbors, and you had the football team. 3 guys on the football team that would go out and stop anything that was going on in the neighborhood. So. A controlled chaos is really what
you put some thought into it. You weren't just a kid calling up people and going, "Hey, man, let's trash a house."
No. I had it figured out. So, going up to Chico, and then doing kind of that type of thing, and involving into a fraternity that the Phi Tau House was going under, and then our friends we all got together. We all basically rushed it. We didn't really rush. It was our time to the place needed help.
Right.
We all jumped in there, and I was the party guy, and we started throwing bigger and bigger parties. So I wanted a band. I mean, but we had local bands, crappy garage stuff, but I want Dave Mason. I want a band, right?
Yeah.
And so my soon-to-be wife, my partner, father, so my soon-to-be father-in-law, was godfather of the president of Bill Graham Enterprises, or Bill Graham Presents, Dave Ferrano. So I asked my father-in-law, and my wife said, well, will you get Nick a meeting? So Dave basically got a phone call to his side. My father-in-law said, Walter Hawkins said, I'll tell you what, you got to take a meeting with this guy. I never really asked you a lot, but not only do you have to take a meeting, I need you to give him a job, because he's probably going to marry my daughter.
And I can't have a bum married to my daughter.
He needs to be able to make a living to take care of my daughter. So it was all good.
Yeah.
Well, I go into the Bill Graham office, get the meeting, and I'm sitting there, and there's Dave Ferrano, and he's talking about blah 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 blah, and I'm talking about getting a band and this and that, and I think he's kind of thinking that I wanted to be in a band, like I was a lead singer, like I wanted to be Ben Steno. Let's go. I'm like, no, I'm just looking for and then Bill Graham comes in. I'm like, oh, okay, holy crap.
And you knew right away. You knew who he was.
Graham, Winterland.
Yeah, Winterland. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And, we all of a sudden had a conversation regarding, well, what are you trying to do? There's certain situations, there's things that there are other promoters in the area. Roy DeBrow's up there in Chico. We just can't come in there and just give you a band. I mean, you gotta go through Roy. You gotta do some things. They have territory. We have stuff. There's stuff that goes on. This is just a business. It's a business. It's not a party. And so
it's a business. It's a business. It's not a party. Meet the Grateful Dead, everybody. It's
right. I get it. I'm not trying to be that person. I'm just trying to elevate, what I'm doing. And then Dave said, well, wait a minute, hang on. Why don't instead of a band or whatever you want in that situation, why don't you come work for us? And I said, well, why not? Okay, what would I do? And I started working in 1976, a day on the green.
Night
in the bowels of the Oakland Coliseum.
previous guest, Dean Del Rey, is great comedian and lover of music, and his first big concert was the AC/DC's Day on the Green with Ted Nugent, and like 1978, I think it was.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
First one.
That concert was funny because that's Ted Nugent. So what happened at that show was that Bill loved to put the facades. Bill was way ahead of anything that was, well, nowadays it's a 90 by 3,000 foot video wall, right?
Right, but it used to be physical artwork.
It was art, right?
Yeah.
And so he had a jukebox, he had the flying saucers, and we had all the different stuff that worked. Well, that particular day, the Scrim FM production, which was part of Bill Graham Enterprises, something happened and it got ripped and it didn't work. So at the very last minute, the late Peter Barsotti, who used to be the production manager for Bill Graham, came up with an idea of making a roped, like a jungle kind of thing, because Ted Nugent.
Yeah, and he came out on a vine and
right, the whole thing, right? That was that, and it ended up where Ted Nugent actually crawled down the frickin' rope. Now if you talk about OSHA, you talk about
dude. No harness, no cable.
No way this was safety for that.
Yeah.
But work, it was just a huge thing, and that was the Ted Nugent show at AC/DC.
But, know anything about Bill Graham except for he was a concert promoter, and look at all this amazing, I mean, basically, like, festivals today are patterned after Day on the Green. You know what I mean? It's kind of a gold standard of, like, the artwork and adding more than just the band on stage, which would have been enough, especially for those lineups. Those lineups were insane. So to add that extra element of visual, like, and not, like you said, today is a big jumbotron or a screen and it's just another video up there, or it's a picture of that was, you know, digitally placed. This is like people on ladders figuring out how to put this giant piece of art in there, and like it was, you know, the look of it, like I never got to see a Day on the Green show, but the look of it, I mean, that is exactly what Lollapalooza was doing, all these other things
So to
that came
see
out.
bands with these backdrops, so if you can Google them, and I own photos of every stage that was done. I own them now. They're all. My dream is just to do a whole day in the greenhouse.
Oh wow!
So
What do you mean you own photos of it? What?
Giant photo. There was a pro guy named Baron Woolman who just passed away, who I had on the podcast, and he was in charge of shooting these. So each show, he would go to the back of the Coliseum and shoot the stage, so you could really see. Yeah. So you get the throw. So every one. So you'd be looking at Boston. It's Boston 2. The ship is fucking flying in. If you look at Monsters of Rock, it's a Tyrannosaurus Rex and another dinosaur fighting. They had a British invasion with Frampton, and that was it was a castle. And then they had Mount Rushmore, which was cool for 4th of July, and that was Skynyrd, and so there was all these, and they're humongous, man. Hold on, I'll get the book.
Okay.
I gotta turn my background off, or else you won't see it here.
Okay.
You can tell I've been zooming for a long time.
Yeah, you got that.
So this is the guy's book. Okay. So here's Monsters of Rock.
Okay.
There it is.
Good.
That's the dinosaurs. And that's Nugent on right there. That was Nugent Aerosmith that day. This is a great photo. It's Bill down here looking at it. There's the sketches of the dinosaurs. Okay. And then this is my favorite one, and I own a painting of this. This is Zeppelin, and this is where the Stonehenge comes from Spinal Tap.
Yeah.
So, and what people don't know is these things were so big. This one was great. It was Hagar, and he came out of the side of a Trans Am.
Oh my God, that's fucking genius.
Yeah, and then this one's great. Rock and Roll Circus. They were huge. I mean, you gotta understand how fucking big these things were.
And that's Bill Graham being a guy who came from putting on plays and being that impresario producer guy.
Look at the Boston one.
Dude, that is sick.
And then he painted them all in Winterland at first, but then Winterland got torn down, so they painted them over at the Oakland airport in a airplane hangar. That's how big they were.
Oh, wow.
And then they would roll them out and post them up. So I met Dennis Larkins, and he had done a full 3-dimensional painting of the Stones Tattoo You tour stage for Bill, including the people and everything. So I reached out, found him about 15, 16 years ago, and said, can you do the Zeppelin painting for me? And he did it, and I own it. It's a full giant 3-dimensional painting of that stage, and it looks like the people, and you see the guys on stage. It's like nothing. Here, I'll show you. It's like nothing you've ever seen. And it took him a year to paint it for me.
How? Where is that? Where do you put that?
It's hanging in my house. Okay, here. So here is what Bill Graham's Stones one looks like. And what you can't see is that's all 3-dimensional. So he sprays the painting with like foam to give it like 3D effect.
So it's like if you touched it, you would feel it.
Oh yeah, you'd feel it. It's like, so mine is the Zeppelin, and it's two things I love. Dennis Larkin, who did the paintings, and Baron Woolman, who shot the photos.
recognizing me, and Dave Ferrano, that I had some sort of ability. I took over all the beverages backstage. So all of a sudden I was the person that was bringing the water and had all the soda and stuff like that. But then I brought in the keg with the tap. Whoa, a tap.
The hero.
Yeah, with CO2 and elevating it, taking it to the next level. And then that led into taking over the entire backstage of the Day on the Green with all the dressing rooms and then theatrical parts of it when we did the Monsters of Rock, where we brought in, built a bridge and had a pond, a pool with alligators and just stuff. That was the whole thing. It was theatrical for the bands, and it was much more entertaining for the backstage environment for the bands and their guests. And it also made Bill feel good. But you brought up Led Zeppelin. That the very last show ever was that
Day on the Green.
Day on the Green, right? And so I'm there, and
fuck! You saw the last Led Zeppelin show.
Oh, I was right in the middle of it, because what ended up happening was the show started getting a little weird, and then all of a sudden I'm kind of doing my backstage thing now. I'm starting to take over breakfast, and I'm kind of really, and all of a sudden this person runs out from under the tunnel, from the crowd under the tunnel, like he's running backstage. Well, I tackle the son of a bitch. I go, I'm gonna get him. Well, he ended up being the manager of fucking Led Zeppelin, right? And I'm like, fuck. So I'm surrounded by all these goons. Bill Graham, what? He came. He was running.
I tackled him. I thought he was a fan.
Well, at the same time that was happening, we would build these. I'd go to San Francisco, and that was another one of my jobs I got, was to go get the redwood. Every band had a redwood sign, and I had the guy down at Fisherman's Wharf
engrave it, yeah.
And say, Rolling Stones, or So in this one, it was Robert Plant. Drummer
John Bonham.
John Bonham. So John Bonham had one on his dressing room, because every one of them had their own dressing rooms. It wasn't just because it was just Led Zeppelin. I don't think it was an opening act. It was just Led Zeppelin. But whatever. John Bonham's son, who now is
Jason Bonham,
Jason Bonham, playing in the band if they ever come back, walked up and said he wanted the sign. And so Jim McZorkis, who, by the way, it's funny, he just passed away, really sad. Jim McZorkis, big guy, and he said, well, you can have it tomorrow, because it's not tonight. Well, he throws a fit. So, Jason Bonham throws a fit, says, fuck you, I want the goddamn sign, and I'll get my dad, and we'll get the sign. I want it now. And everyone, well, anyway, John Bonham and goons come and beat the fuck.
I heard about this story. That's why they beat him up, because he wouldn't give the sign.
Beat the fucking shit out of him, broke his jaw, the whole thing. And then Bob Barsotti goes running in there. Well, now things are out of control. Now I just tackled the frickin' manager. This is going on backstage, and all of a sudden now it is face to face, frickin' Zeppelin, Bill Graham, frickin' and guns appear. I mean, guns come out of fucking pockets from the road. It's scary shit. And then Bill Graham has to sign off on, not pressing charges.
Didn't he have to go to their hotel room to sign the thing that said otherwise they weren't going to play?
I know that I don't know if he went to the hotel room, but I know that he met them and their attorney and Bill's attorney, and that they were not going to go on the next day. Okay, they flat out would not go.
Because he could have, John Bonham could have easily been sued, and he would have lost.
Oh, he'd gone to jail. This is physical assault.
Yeah.
And a bunch of witnesses, right? So, anyway, long story short, which is already long, but they ended up going on stage after getting the waiver, and then immediately got arrested after the show. Though and then that was literally the last time they ever were back in the United States.
I know everything about Day on the Green because I think it's the greatest United States concert series ever done.
It's a gold, to me, it's the gold standard of everything that's come after it.
The lineups after that, I just want to blast through them because I think it's kind of worth it. But so I read what happened in 1973. 1974, you got The Grateful Dead, The Beach Boys, New Riders on the Purple Sage, Commander Cody and his Lost Planet Airmen, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, The Band, Joe Walsh, Jesse Colin Young. 75, you got Chicago, The Beach Boys, Commander Cody again, New Riders again, Bob Seger, Doobie Brothers, Eagles, Kingfish with Bob Weir. Elton John pops in for a couple of encores. Robin Trower, Dave Mason, Peter Frampton, Fleetwood Mac, Gary Wright, Edgar Winter Group, Johnny Winter, Lynyrd Skynyrd, Earthquake, Climax Blues Band. That's 1975. 1976, Frampton again, Fleetwood Mac again, Gary Wright, Status Quo, UFO, Boz Scaggs, Tower of Power, Santana, Jeff Beck, Journey, Niles Lufgren, Jay Giles Band, Blue Oyster Cult, Mahogany Rush, Sammy Hagar, Marvin Gaye, The Temptations, Nancy Wilson, Harold Melvin, Donald Byrd, Hampton Hawes, Natalie Cole, Smokey Robinson, Happy Chinooka, everybody. Staple Singers, Teddy Pendergrass, B.B. King, Archie Bell, The Beach Boys, America, Elvin Bishop again, John Sebastian, Eagles again, Linda Ronstadt, Loggins and Messina again. 77, Fleetwood Mac, Doobie Brothers, Gary Wright, Eagles, Steve Miller, Hart, Peter Frampton's.
I often ask people about their big albums and wonder that if they had the thought whilst making them, whether they knew it was going to be big, whether they thought these songs are going to catch on. But obviously it's slightly different with a live album because the songs are already out there. So could you have ever imagined that that live record would have taken off the way it did and went absolutely mental? It went crazy, didn't it?
Yeah. No. The only thing I'll say is that the main night where 95% of the album comes from is Winterland in San Francisco. The acoustic numbers come from Marin County around the corner a couple of days earlier than that. But the main show, we had never headlined in San Francisco for real. And they had adopted me after the Frampton album came out. And San Francisco was way ahead in appreciation of me than anywhere else in the country, basically. And so we decided to do it there, do the live album there. And we had no idea, we didn't even have enough time for a headline show. So that's why we added the acoustic spot, you know. And so when we walked out that night, and started playing, we were all in shock, I think, from the reaction.
Thank you very, very much for waiting. Would you welcome, please, a good friend, Mr. Peter Frampton.
Chico man. You. Feel like that. How do you feel now? Love me.